Hi, it's Pete here from See Your Toes again, and this is podcast number 30. Today I have a guest. She's the lovely Alli Covington. She's a personal trainer, and today is all about just having a chinwag about what she does, what she believes in, and how she goes about making people healthier than they currently are. We talk about all sorts of things, including gut health, which is obviously very important to Alli. And we talk about food addictions, awareness of chronic illnesses. That sounds pretty darn good, and it was an interesting conversation. So I hope you enjoy today. Sit back and let's get straight into it. Thank you. So hi, Alli, how are you? And thank you very much for coming on to my show.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We are in different parts of the world. You are in Southern California, I believe.
Yep.
And I'm in the incredibly sunny part of Yorkshire in the UK, in Leeds, which I think we got up to about 16 degrees today. It didn't really feel that tropical.
A whole 16.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must have sent all your clouds my way because I've got the June gloom happening right now.
Oh, okay.
That's what happens in Southern California beach cities. It's not sunny until the afternoon for a while.
Yeah. Is California, when is your summer? I know that's a silly question.
It's generally like July through September.
Yeah, okay. I was just trying to ascertain. I mean, the whole of the United States is on the northern hemisphere, isn't it? So,
yeah. Now I'm talking about like what you would consider summer to be. But when we talk about like when weather starts warming up, I don't consider this to be summer, even though it was like 70 yesterday, maybe 72. Yeah. That's not summer yet. That's just spring.
Well, that's the thing. And if you're from a part of the world that gets cold winters, then anything that's not freezing suddenly seems wonderful.
Right.
In the weekend, we had really warm days, and I even had a barbecue on Sunday evening. You know, it was great to be outside and have all the doors open and all that sort of stuff.
That sounds lovely.
Yes, that's right. Barbecued. I even stuck a picture on my social media of me munching down a lamb chop that was barbecued, and it was delicious.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was damn nice.
I bet.
Yeah.
Cool.
So can you tell me a little bit about you, Alli, what you do, what your past is, and all that sort of stuff?
Oh, what do I do? I help people get past whatever their roadblocks are to get to where they want to go. So I started off in fitness in 95, my freshman year of college. I was a bio major at UCI, and I started personal training then, started teaching group exercise classes, wanted to avoid putting on the freshman 15, and I did avoid it. And then I got into wanting to maybe compete, but I was preparing for a Miss Fitness competition, which had a dance routine, a very rigorous dance routine. And I was doing a back handspring and landed on my neck a few weeks before the competition. So I didn't get to compete. And I decided to go ahead and finish my degree and then reevaluate. Well, I decided to go get a master's in counseling psychology. And I just continued to help people with both of those together. I did go and build a financial planning practice for a couple of decades, in addition to raising my kids and staying fit. And now I'm headlong into building up my fitness coaching business so that I can help more people faster.
Was the financial planning side of things, was that just a good idea at the time, or just how things ended up heading? It seems a little bit different a bit transient from the other.
Right. It seems like a departure. So one of my personal training clients at the gym, who was a really wealthy guy, he used to flip apartment complexes. He said, you don't want to listen to people's problems for 40 hours a week. Because I said I wanted to have a private practice in therapy. And he's like, go into the financial business. And I thought, I don't understand where you're coming at me with that. That was completely left field type of scenario. But the reality is that it's all personal training, it's all coaching. It's just whether it's your body or your mind or your finances. And so it did teach me a lot about money, which I didn't know because my parents were teachers. They didn't have much knowledge to impart. And it taught me some about business and marketing and whatnot. So I've applied what I built and learned over there to my current business here.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that it would have helped you in the long run, that's for sure.
Plus, it's one of the really critical things that people need in order to be able to navigate life well. And it was really one of the biggest reasons why I went into personal training, because I thought, well, if I can do this for other people, I can certainly do it for myself for the rest of my life. And I took that same curious approach going into finances. Well, I need to know this for the rest of my life. So let me dive in and learn it so well that I can help other people with it. And then I'll never need to be at the mercy of somebody else and their sales tactics or whatever. I will understand this from, intrinsically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with regard to your fitness then, can you expand a little bit on that then?
Sure. My personal fitness or the fitness business?
I guess the fitness business is what we're looking at. Well, a bit of both. I mean, let's face it, This is about you as well. So your personal fitness, what you like to achieve, what your goals are, because there's some people, of course, thinking ultra marathon is their desire, and there's other people want to be bodybuilders. So there's a big difference there.
Yeah, I competed 2 years ago, my first competition. I plan on getting back up on stage. I've just got a couple of things that I've got to work out with my body first before I feel like I could win.
And is that in bodybuilding? What's that in, Alli?
It's a bikini competition, so
Right.
the lightest version of a bodybuilding competition.
Okay. Because I saw, sorry to interrupt, I saw a picture
okay.
of you, one of the pictures images you posted on X, and I thought, wow, she's got a low body fat content. You know, you were pretty ripped.
Yeah, that was definitely for that. Not that not that I'm fat now, obviously. You want to stay as close to that as you can and still be healthy. But so I'm probably right around 16% right now, I would imagine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not too bad.
All right. And have you been doing that side of stuff for a long time then?
Well,
Sort of the bikini bodybuilding style regimen.
yes, that style of training I have. I just didn't get up on stage. I was busy having babies and building businesses. Yeah, babies take a lot of time,
They
a
would.
lot of wear and tear on your body.
Yes,
So
I can imagine that too.
There's a lot of coming back from what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And a lot of people, of course, don't come back. So it's an impressive, I can imagine it would have taken a lot of work to come back.
It's not as much work as you think. It's definitely a lot of patience. But what I didn't do that I think a lot of people do, men and women, is they make excuses and they let their baby or their growing family be the reason not to train instead of the reason to train. And I wanted to stay strong for my kids so I could continue to play with them and have new adventures and teach them how to surf and do all of those fun things and ski, the things that I enjoy doing. And you can't do that when you're out of shape. So that's really the downfall. I think that people they just give in to those excuses because everybody else does.
That's right, and they will certainly use the "I haven't got time" excuse as well, of course. And
none of that's true. You can always find the time. It doesn't take that long.
That's right. I even get colleagues. I know I'm deviating here, but I even get colleagues who are in their 50s and 60s who say, "Oh, I haven't got time to go to the gym," and you're thinking, what else do you do with your time then? You don't play sports. You don't it's not like they're saying, oh, I go and do such and such every night. It's effectively they finish work and then they probably go and they might take the dog for a walk and then they'll sit down and watch TV, I guess. And to say that
Right.
I don't have time is obviously it's in their minds. They're probably thinking, well, I am actually quite busy. So,
Well, whenever I hear somebody say, I don't have time, I think either you're really poor at time management or you're really poor at, at prioritizing what needs to be done to continue to live a good life.
and I guess
Because
that
if I can
also,
do it, then
yeah.
anybody can.
Yeah, and that word prioritizing is quite important because I guess that's the thing is that a lot of people don't see exercise and health as a priority. It was
They're
something I
taking it
actually,
for granted.
yeah, something I actually mentioned today in another post with somebody else was that I can't remember what they said, but I said it's like because I remember passing a bloke on Sunday who had just finished polishing up one of his vehicles outside his house, and he was polishing up his van. He'd washed and was polishing both vehicles, and I thought, and I happen to know the guy, and I thought he spends a whole lot more time on his vehicles than he does on his health, because he spends
Whoops.
that because he wants his vehicles to be look nice, to be functional, he'll be cleaning out the inside as well, making sure everything's spick and span. But then when it comes to his own health, he probably doesn't know where to start, to be honest, let alone spend time doing it.
One of those like just start walking, take a walk, right? You'll figure it out as you go. You'll find the right people to help you. But people do spend a lot more time taking care of their house and their car than they do their bodies. And it's like, you only have one body to live in and it's deteriorating every day that you're not doing something to slow that deterioration.
That's right. And when people think that they don't have time for it, then the problem is, of course, most of these people, again, I talk about colleagues in their 50s and 60s, suddenly they will have a heart issue or they're diagnosed with diabetes or something of that nature, one of these chronic illnesses. And how did that happen? Where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
It's a chronic illness. It's taken 20 years to get that way. The trouble is it's just suddenly shown itself with heart disease or something of that
Yep.
nature.
I like to say it didn't come out of the oblivion, it came out of the oblivious.
Oh, oh, can I write that down?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll patent it before you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, and on that basis, then that's why, and let's face it, if a person's heart stops, they're buggered. It doesn't matter what type of car they've got. It doesn't matter how big their house is, how much money they have in the bank, even how many holidays they're planning. None of that matters because once your heart stops, you're screwed.
Yep.
And so the most important thing that we all own has to be our health.
That's right. And it's the only thing that you're really in control of being robbed of.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of phrasing that too, because it's easy to say you're in
Or not being
control
robbed.
of, as opposed to you're being in control of being, well, of being robbed from. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, as with all of these chronic illnesses, I guess it's easy. It's fair to say that exercise has to be considered chronic as well. You know, it has to be
Absolutely.
something that becomes part of your daily life.
Absolutely. Are you going to not brush your teeth because you were too tired or didn't have time? No, it's been beat into your head. You have to brush your teeth every day or twice a day, right? But at least brush them every day or they fall out of your face. How are you going to eat? Right? It's like, take care of what you have. I don't know. Is it because I grew up in the 80s and this was like how we talked and did things? I don't know. But I'm over here scratching my head going, how is this not obvious? You have to take care of your health or you won't have it. right? Everything dies and decays. We watch it every year, right? Fall, winter, spring, fall, winter, right? We watch that this is life. And just because it's not happening right in front of our eyes every day, you're not watching your skin deteriorate. Why can we not? But we have grandparents, we have people in our lives that are older than us. We can see it happening. Why stick your head in the sand about it? Why not do something to slow it down?
Yeah, and perhaps that comes down to the chronic nature of it as well, is that because these changes happen so slowly, say, for example, your parents slowly deteriorate, and next thing, dad's sitting there in his chair slobbering and he's a different person from the dad you knew 40
Right.
years ago. But because
Right.
it took that long to happen, it's like, oh, yep, so he's got to a stage now where he can't stand up on his own. So that's just
Yeah.
another deterioration point. But because it's chronically happened, it's happened slowly over the last 20 years, it's a lot more difficult. You can imagine if dad went from 40 and suddenly the next day he was sitting in the chair slobbering as a 75-year-old. Obviously, the mathematics don't work out, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Then everyone would go,
It would
what
be
the hell
shocking.
happened there?
It would
Exactly.
be shocking and traumatic. That's what the
Yeah,
heart attack does. It
yeah,
says this is the precursor to that.
mm,
Yeah.
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 So that's all very interesting. A little bit of a sideline for us both, but
But it's psychologically true even when you're making good results. That's the reason why we want to take progress pictures. Take your before pictures, because as you make progress, you're not going to look very different, even though the scale is changing and your clothes are fitting looser. But you don't look vastly different until you get really lean. And so you want progress pictures so you can see the changes, especially in the back, because otherwise we don't think that anything is changing because
no.
it happens so slowly before our eyes.
That's right. You get used to how you look each day and each week, and you forget how you looked 6 months ago. It's
Right.
interesting you say pictures from your back, because literally I have no idea what my back looks like,
But it'll
because I
change
can't.
faster than your front.
Yeah, I can't see it, and I know it should be fairly muscular because of all of the deadlifts and the squats that I do.
Good.
On a fairly regular basis. So it should be pretty darn strong, but I've got no idea, because without saying to a housemate, excuse me, can you take a photo of my back every 3 months or every month?
Just do it in the mirror, right? Just turn around, selfie it in the mirror, and you can see your back.
Right.
Yeah. Then you can see the changes happening faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what sort of, so currently you have a fitness business, don't you, Ali?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What sort of customers do you do? Do you have a particular genre of customers you tend to attract?
Yes, I've noticed that they tend to be executives or business owners, somebody who's head of household, very type A, has a pretty good life, but really wants more out of life, wants a great life. And they're very dedicated to their family, to themselves, to their work. They just want a little bit more help, and they want better results than they're currently getting. And they know they can have them.
Okay. So on that
Yeah.
basis, that would be I imagine that means that they will also get results because they're happy to put in the work involved to get results.
They generally do. Yeah.
Yeah, because let's face it, there are a lot of people who want results, but they don't necessarily want to do the work that's involved.
Right. And I've had those clients too. It's how they've helped me hone who I best work with. I don't want to coddle anyone. I don't want to hold their hand. I will absolutely encourage them and cheer them on and run alongside them, but I'm not going to coddle anyone because it's just not my personality. And
Mm.
so as I was asking the guys, like, well, what is it that why do you like working with me? And they're like, you get it. It's the way you connect. And I thought, because I'm like you. Okay, that must be it. So they stay for years.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so when they first arrive, what would be their main? I know I'm being stereotypical here. What would be their main? Would they be overweight because they've been sedentary, or have they been to the gym and tried pretty darned hard, but they just don't seem to get the results, and they need somebody to help them?
It's both, anywhere in between. Some are 100 pounds overweight. Some are relatively fit, and they're like, I just want to get rid of this little bit of fat right here and take my strength up a notch and take my longevity up a notch and my cardio and everything else. Like, just help me get even better, Alli. And so we focus on nutrition and performance and things like that, because we don't have to build the habit of getting in the work each day. But then there are others that do not work out, and so they need to start. They've been dedicated to building their business, building the company, and they've let themselves go. So now they have to get back into a new habit.
Yeah, and I can certainly understand that with people who are working 14, 16-hour days in their business. They're putting everything into it, and their entire emphasis is on that and nothing else. And suddenly they turn around and go, bloody hell, where did this 100 pounds of fat come from?
And they're depressed and they're angry and having all of the emotions about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we have to work on reprioritizing their health so that they can get more production out of themselves when they're working less.
Okay. When it comes to, we could get back into exercise soon, but when it comes to nutrition, what's your opinion on nutrition? Do you have a lean to with regard to nutrition?
I lean toward protein. It's the only macro your body can't live without for any length of time. So we need to, and most people don't get enough of it. So I focus on water and protein first. And then everything else starts to sort itself out, because each person's preferences and dietary needs and gut health are all different. And that impacts how they digest fats and fruits and vegetables, or carbohydrates, or if they have food intolerances, things like that. But almost no one has a strict food intolerance against amino acids. It just wouldn't make any sense, because every function in your body is a function of amino acids. All of your hormones, all of your everything, right? You have to have amino acids in order to be able to do that. So our body is used to those. It's used to water. We start there. And then we build from the ground up what their preferences are, what their body needs, and what they want to accomplish. Because it could be that they don't care about getting, into single digit body fat. They just want to get to 15, but be able to maintain it and still have a hamburger. Okay. Right. Or they don't care about the hamburger, but they want to have a scotch or two every night. Okay. Right. So it's really about, like, how do we modify our diet to get our performance and be able to do it so that it's enjoyable enough that we can sustain it 90 to 95% of the time. There is a value in treat meals. There is not a value in having a treat meal every day. That's how we get into trouble. But
it's not a treat meal when it's every day. It's
right?
An average meal. Yeah.
Right. But but people think like that. They go, well, I ate great all day, and now I can have this. It doesn't work like that. Like they think the margin for error is like this, when it's really like this.
Yeah.
And so when we can find a way of fueling our body and enjoying our life where we can maintain that 95% of the time, that's the win. So that's how I approach nutrition.
Okay. Do you, just for the purpose of listeners, do you count calories with your customers?
No, I focus on macros. Calories are vastly different depending on what the food is. It reacts completely differently inside your body. There's a study that just came out that said you can add, how they will basically say you need to have like 1 to 1.2 on the high end grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, right? there's a study that came out and said, took two groups of people, and the control group and the studied group. Control group didn't change anything about their diet. But the study group 5x'd how much protein they were eating. Didn't reduce the fat, didn't increase the fat, didn't reduce the carbohydrates, kept everything else the same, just added 4.4 grams of protein to every kilogram of body weight and saw zero change. So that means their calories were a lot higher, but that didn't add more fat to their body, because protein is thermogenic. When you're breaking it down, it like your body literally bleeds out half the energy that it takes to convert that protein into a fuel source. So it's extremely inefficient, but it's not inefficient with fat. In fact, the closer to our ideal self, right, to the chemical makeup of us, the easier it is for our body to utilize it. So land animal fat, it says, cool, this is great. Now I don't have to use any of my own to make any of those pesky cell membranes today because you just gave me enough of it. Thanks. Yep. Right? And then people wonder, well, how come I can't lose weight? It's that ribeye that you keep throwing in front of your face that's doing it, right? Because as we're leaning out to get on stage, we completely cut out land animal fat. The bodybuilders just don't talk about it like that. They just say fat. And then they say, well, eat nothing but, fat-free types of proteins and then take this MCT oil, because of course we know that we have to have some, or we end up looking really poorly. Our skin gets bad, our hair gets brittle, things like that, right? So we have to have our essential fatty acids, neurons, we have to have that stuff. But they don't consume it in their food when they're shredding for the stage. They eat things like tilapia and shrimp and chicken breast with almost no fat, and then they control how much fat they get.
Yeah, boiled chicken breast.
And they do it because it gets rid of the fat under the skin so that you get nice, tight-looking muscles, right? Yep. And they eat rice because that doesn't have any additional fat with it either, unless you add it. So there's very specific biochemical pathways that we know work to lose body fat. Will carnivore and keto people get there? I don't know. Will they end up having, heart problems down the road? Possibly. I don't know. We've never in human history had so many people on a keto diet before, where it's largely animal fat, land animal fat, not even fish, right? And land animal fat happens to be lower in omega-3s, the ratio to omega-3s and 6s than plant and fish fats. So that's why those have always been the recommendation for decades. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's so overweight, they're like, well, just cut out all the carbs altogether. Carbs are the enemy. That's where we're at now. And in the 80s, fat was the enemy.
Well, that's right. The whole fat was the enemy came up just because one bloke said it was the enemy, and everybody changed accordingly. And the problem was, of course, he didn't even have any proper data to support that claim, but everybody believed him. And
and by the way, it's the land animal fat and the sugar from those carbohydrates that causes the big problems in our arteries. It's also what happens to put on a lot of body fat. So if you just craft out a diet that has low land animal fat and clean carbohydrates, or slow burning carbohydrates that don't spike your blood sugar like crazy, you're going to be fine long term. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. It's certainly an interesting subject, and it's a subject that everybody has a very strong opinion on, of course. If you're vegan, then your opinion is that anybody who eats any sort of animal, including fish, is going to go to hell, let's face it. They're going to die a horrid death.
Yeah, I love them. They're so interesting. I was just thinking about this last night too, that it seems like the carnivore crowd is just as religious about their diet as the vegans are.
That's
And
why the carnivores and the vegans pick up such wonderful fights between each other. They really
I
do.
know. And it seems to me that when we're looking at carnivore versus vegan, the vegans were, kicking everybody who ate meat in the teeth. And a group of them, some subsect of those meat eaters, got so profoundly insulted by enough, punches to the face that they finally went, fine, then I'm going to make a whole diet of eating nothing but meat just to prove you guys wrong. And now they're standing on their hind legs, kicking at the vegans and pointing fingers. And everybody else is over here like, you guys look like toddlers in the play yard, just picking a beef with each other. And you're on opposite sides of the same coin. You're just as religious about your food. Stop it. Right? Where did your common sense go? Everybody.
That's right.
I need to write a post about that.
Right. Okay.
My opinion about the two.
I think in the end, it's what makes you as a person feel the best. And sometimes I guess that requires a bit of trial and error. Let's face it. You try that food and it doesn't work out for you. I have done some very interesting podcasts lately of people who have people who have put chronic illnesses, serious chronic illnesses, including mental illness, into remission.
Right.
With the likes of a carnivore diet.
And the thing about that is, it's probably because their gut is dysbiotic. If they fix their gut, they wouldn't have to eliminate whole swaths of food groups and stick to this one extreme diet. But because they go, well, I have no more symptoms. Yes, but as soon as you eat X, the symptom comes back. Well, that's fine. I just won't eat that. But that doesn't change the fact that you have leaky gut and a dysbiotic gut, and that it's still going to affect you. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to get something new down the road either. Right? I've had clients that have had ulcerative colitis and chronic conditions, and we don't have to put them on a special diet to fix the issue. We fix the gut. That's the foundational issue. Fix that, and then you can go ahead and live a normal life.
Yeah, and incidentally, some of those people, I can think of 2, possibly 3 of them, were on a vegan diet imposed by hospitals. Were on a vegan diet beforehand, and they were drinking canola oil and all sorts of pea protein mixed with canola oil to try to make them fatten up. And
whoa,
you can imagine the damage that would have been done to them through that process.
Jeez.
So, exactly. So then when they stopped all that, of course, and went carnivore, yes, they did get seriously good results.
Sure, because our body was now given the one macro that it can't live without. And so when they were vegan, their body was completely catabolizing their muscle mass in order to survive. And you can only do that until that's pretty much gone. But all along the way, your body's going to give you all of these chronic symbols every day. It's going to say, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. Can we turn the ship around? Here's your signal. Here's your signal. It's poking at you every day until you finally go, okay, then let's get the right amino acids. Because again, like I said a few minutes ago, our bodies prefer what is biologically similar to us. It's bioavailability. Animal protein is because we are animals, land animals, in fact, our bodies want that. So we can try to make up for it with, manufactured protein powders. But at the end of the day, you should have something. Eggs, something. So vegetarians fare better than vegans. And I've seen it, in my own clients as well. And they can get great results still being a vegetarian.
And I was about to say, the problem is that vegetarians don't make much noise. They just get on with it. It's the vegans that make all the noise. So somebody said to me something the other day.
That's how you know it's a religion and not a diet.
Somebody said something to me the other day, and they mentioned vegans, and I thought afterwards, if they had just said vegetarians, then vegetarians get on with it because they can still eat their cheese, they can still eat eggs, they can. Then you can have the pescatarians as well, of course. They're getting a much more balanced diet.
Yes,
they're just getting on with it, and they seem to literally not make a fuss.
Because they're not sitting there talking about their chronic condition that got healed or the one that they now have, and they're not, turning their diet into a religion.
Yeah.
That's how you know they're fairly normal.
Yeah.
They're not obsessed about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
We spent the last 600,000 years developing into the humans we are today, and I doubt we did that by just eating plants and
Plants.
stuff. Yeah.
And we didn't do it just by eating meat either. We
No,
did it with all of them. Everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's certainly chat that we may have gone through a few 100,000 years only eating meat, especially in the Ice Age. But it's, again, that's all gets very philosophical, and everyone's peering into a microscope of the past and saying this is what happened without really knowing. Let's face it, we're only dealing with what we know from archaeology and everything else.
We're making best guesses at those things. What we do know today from our research is the good bacteria in our gut live off of plant and fruit fiber. So we need to feed it in order for it to proliferate and to have a healthy body. Do you need to only eat plants? No, because that can cause bloating and all kinds of other issues. But some is good, just like some protein, some carb, some is good. Too much tends to cause problems in almost everyone. Like everyone forgot moderation was the key.
Yeah. Okay.
Why be balanced when extremism is so much fun, right?
Wow.
And gets so much attention.
Right. It does. Yeah, that's right. Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. So on that basis, you mentioned basically you're talking about high glycemic foods, low glycemic foods as the ones you would prefer as far as vegetation is concerned. Carbohydrates.
Yeah, as far as carbs are concerned, yeah. Because you've got your slow burning carbs are going to give you energy all day, and it's going to keep you from spiking your blood sugar, which tends to be a real big issue for people. Causes insulin insensitivity, type 2 diabetes, things like that. So rather than spiking your blood sugar over and over and over again, trying to get a quick fix from your Starbucks or the muffin or whatever, eat your rice and beans, eat your potatoes. Much healthier for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as exercise is concerned, what's your philosophy on weights versus cardio? That's always a good one as well.
You need both.
Okay.
Both. And I generally prefer an equal amount. Your body needs enough weight to build muscle. You need cardio to also build muscle because you need some endurance to be able to get through the heavy lifting that you've got to do. Plus, those are the two biggest factors in longevity. So when you're over 60, the decline happens much more rapidly. It speeds up, right? You start to feel it at 40, and then at 60, it's like, wow, this thing's accelerating downward quickly. So after 60, we know that you're going to lose X number of kilograms of muscle mass per decade. If you're lifting heavy, like you're trying to build muscle, you're going to lose half as much, but you will still lose some. So we're running up the down escalator after 60. That having muscle mass is one of the greatest predictors of longevity, mostly because you have the strength and ability to produce force so that you can step off a curb and stop yourself from falling. If you twist your ankle, you'll catch yourself because you're quick enough. But when somebody doesn't have that kind of muscle mass and they are more frail, they fall, they break a hip, they end up with a hip replacement that shortens their lifespan, their life expectancy. Actuarially, it does. And it's a very quick, downhill slide. Cardiovascular, your VO2 max, is the other predictor of longevity. And the better your VO2 max, the better your longevity. There's no upper limit to it, says the research. So the better your cardio, the longer you're more likely to live. A good example of this is when you get some type of like cardiopulmonary illness, like pneumonia. If you can't breathe, you can't deliver oxygen, then this is going to take a lot longer to get over. And some people don't, right? They die from pneumonia. But those athletes with a good VO2 max, it's just an illness. You're going to get past it and move on. And so everything will return to normal when you've been taking really good care of yourself. So you need both. I am not a fan of anybody that's saying, oh no, forget cardio, or oh no, you don't need the weights. You need both. And your body does not function well without both.
No.
Not optimally anyway.
No. I was only doing primarily weights at the gym, and then I went on the treadmill and I noticed that I couldn't go. This was a year ago. I noticed I couldn't go for more than about 2 minutes without having to slow down to a walk. And I thought, Jesus, Pete, what's going on here? I used to be, at high school, I was one of the best middle distance and long distance runners in the country. In New Zealand. So to be in a position where I had to stop after 2 minutes and walk was humbling. It was a mental embarrassment. So
I can imagine.
Yeah. So and certainly during lockdown, I did the couch to 5K. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
Is that something that, yeah. So I built that up to doing my 30 minutes. And so it took me probably a month before I could do 40 minutes on the treadmill without stopping. And I was pretty chuffed with that. And so now I try to build it into once a week, I get on the treadmill and I just use the word go for 40 minutes and I record. And that's the benefit of doing it on a treadmill. I do it 40 minutes and I record how far I got. So obviously you go too fast at the start, you end up suffering later. If you dawdle at the start, you're never going to make your miles up at the end. So, and that for me works quite well. I know that I should do more cardio, and I really don't like the rower, and I can't stand the push bike. So I'm kind of stuck with the treadmill.
What about a step mill?
Yeah, there's a step mill and then there's a cross trainer as well. So let's face it, people have got everything they need.
Step mill. That's a good one.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. So I mainly use a treadmill, but I know that I should do it more.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
You're looking for 3 to 4 hours a week of at least zone 2 cardio, and zone 2 for you could be very different from anybody else you know, right? So it's not about heart rate, it's about how much power you can put out before you reach the lactate threshold that starts to make your body start to slow down. And when you're focused on the power output, you have a measurement that you can increase. So when I started working on my zone 2 in January or February, something like that, I was putting out 3 times my body weight in power. Now I'm putting out 3.5 times. Well, I started putting out 3.5 times like in March or April, but then I got a head cold and noticed the harder it was for me to breathe and clear out all this junk from my sinuses and my lungs. I could do my zone 2, but my heart rate was 10 beats higher than it normally is. So now I'm officially back down to where I should be. And I think all the stuff has been cleared out, but man, it can take a while when you get a good illness.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You're just really doing well, and then it can be just a cold. It could be something that has all the traces of COVID, let's face it. You get a little bit hammered for a week. It's been a long time since I've been in bed with anything that's, anything that has got me sick enough that I have to be in bed for a few days. But it does take a week or 2 or 3 to go to the gym and feel like, yes, I'm pumping, as opposed to, I'm really, I used to do 100 kilos and now I'm doing 70 and it's a struggle.
Yeah, I hear you. It's been a long time since I've been that kind of ill too. But this one wasn't one of those like I've got to stay in bed. It was just I'm gonna skip the gym so I don't overdo it, so I don't end up in
Yeah.
bed. I'm gonna keep working.
Yeah.
There was
That's
only
right.
one day where I was like, I'm not taking any phone calls. Nobody wants to talk to me today. Nope, just one day. Let me just rest.
Yeah, that's right. Go away, world. I'll be back soon.
Yeah, one day. That's all it took. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
But that's fitness. That's why we want to be fit, because we cannot control viruses. You can get all the vaccines in the world, but you can still get sick from something. So your best defense is keeping a healthy body, not keeping a drug full of medications.
Yeah. And certainly, of course, if you have been in a situation where you're going to whatever exercise you do, whatever form of fitness you do, every day you do the fitness and then your body needs to recover from it. So your body is repairing itself every day. So
Mm-hmm.
then you get a virus and you don't go to the gym or you don't do your fitness routine, whatever that is, then your body still needs to fix itself, but it can spend all of that energy
Yep.
fixing the problem. And I
That's
think that
right.
makes a huge difference from somebody else who their body isn't designed to fix problems.
Right. Every time a client gets sick, I'm like, they're like, I'm going to try to work out anyway. I said, do not,
No.
no cardio. I'm like, if you feel okay, you can lift, because lifting isn't nearly as strenuous on your whole system as cardio is. I said, but really just your body's fighting something. You're already working out. It's getting a workout. Just chill.
Yeah,
Go get
that's
some
right. Exactly.
electrolytes and hydrate, and you'll be back at it.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
body's doing its job. It's busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what made you start this podcast?
I wrote a book that was designed for middle-aged men to get healthy and get their act together.
Nice.
And from there, I decided to, how do I get the name of this book out there? So
What's it called?
It's called See Your Toes Again.
Ah,
Same as this
that's
podcast.
right. Same as the podcast. Got it. Okay.
Just because I don't have enough of an imagination to come up with two titles, you see.
I like it, though. No, it's perfect branding.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of men that can't see their toes.
I had this chat with one of my larger colleagues, and he said, I can see my toes. Look, and he bends right over.
Right, bends over to see his toes. It's like, no, you should be able to look down and see them.
I think you know what I mean, actually, sir. So
thanks for making my point for me, right?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And let's face it, a lot of those guys, like I said, they're at that stage it's overweight, but most people know that the overweight side of it, the actual weight category, it's not about losing weight, it's about getting healthy. And fortunately, a lot of the time, if you get healthy, you'll lose weight in the process, which will make you feel better as well.
The one caveat I've noticed with that is there are clients that have great blood markers. They are they are healthy by all of those standards, but they've got a lot of visceral fat. They still have this belly, and it's like, that's still dangerous. We still have to get rid of that.
Yeah, that's right. And the trouble is, they'll go to the doctor and the doctor will say, oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's like,
blood work looks okay.
Yep. Yeah, blood pressure's fine. It's like, it's not really anyway.
Yeah. It's not going to stay that way.
No, exactly. Basically, you're teetering on, you're playing with knives. And at some stage, you're going to go to that doctor, or maybe you're just going to be walking down the street one day and something's going to go wrong. You're going to clutch your chest and wonder why you've got this stabbing pain in your chest. So,
right.
Same with diabetes. Let's face it. Once you've got diabetes, it's just something you don't want.
Correct. Harder to reverse than it is to get, for sure. Can be done, absolutely. But that's a combo of gut fixing too.
Yeah.
because usually the insulin receptors are blocked. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's lifestyle habits. So,
that's right. So changing people's lifestyle habits, and unfortunately, middle-aged men who aren't thinking about getting healthy are possibly the worst genre to pick on, because a lot of women, for example, have always got the I've got to look good, I want to lose weight. They've gone through all of their lives trying to lose weight,
yeah.
whereas men haven't. Man is like, bought and paid for, bought and
True.
paid for. You know,
Right.
yeah,
I'm glad you hit on that, because in 2013, I started doing a seminar called How Your Health Impacts Your Wealth, to try to start seeding that awareness of you're not taking care of your body, and it's actually going to end up costing you a lot more than taking care of your body today would cost you. So I had a doctor get me all the data from the CDC at the time on heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, um, osteoporosis, and ADHD. I threw in ADHD because I thought a lot of people get diagnosed with this, and I'm just really curious how much it costs people. And I took each one of those conditions at the point where people typically get diagnosed with it, and extrapolated out how much it costs per year until retirement age. And then I measured it against 5, 8, and 10% rates of return. Because a decade ago, we could say that you could get 10% in the market consistently. Last decade has proved like, oh no, we should be talking more like 7.5. But anyway, this is why 3 out of 4 people retire on less than $10,000 a year in the United States. They have zero idea how much money is being siphoned silently from their bank account out of their life, simply through medications, extra doctor's appointments, medical premiums being higher because because they're utilizing it more, life insurance premiums being higher because they're rated because of their current health condition, and lost productivity, blah 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 blah, right? All compounded into one number. And depending on how far you want to go or how many of these conditions you want to have will depend on how much it actually costs you. It's astounding.
yes,
Yeah, it's
it
a
would
lot of
be.
money.
I was speaking.
And for let's say, so heart disease costs like $6,000 a year. That's $500 a month.
Yeah,
Or you could be fit and completely avoid all of that, and get to also have a lot of energy and have more productivity and make more money, right? And that's just one of them. That's just the heart disease one. That wasn't even,
yeah,
if you combine it with diabetes and everything else too. I didn't even
yeah.
put together those numbers, but I should, now that I'm saying it out loud, I should redo my presentation and start combining them into what does metabolic disorder cost you as an overall basket of conditions. Sheesh.
Exactly, and especially here's one that most men will maybe think about a little bit harder, is our good old statins. You know, oh, you've got high cholesterol, let's put you on statins. Statins, of course, it's a little bit different in the States than in the UK, because in the UK you've got the NHS, National Health Service. We all pay taxes every month to go to the NHS. So
Right.
it's a hidden cost, but it means that a lot of these people can get statins and things. If the doctor says that they need them, they'll get them for free. So,
Right.
whereas, say, in the States, you are put on statins, so I'm sure that's costing you a nice little fortune every month. And on top of that, you get, at no extra cost, you get a lack of sex drive, you get brain fog and forgetfulness all the time. You're going to just feel like crap all the time. So that's something you can really look forward to, but especially with regard to the
blood pressure medication too, to go along with it. And then you need your Cialis to help out with that situation. Yeah.
Yeah. And because of course the cholesterol medications have ruined all of your hormones, taken all of them out of your bloodstream, then that's where your whole sex life with your partner is just going to go right down the gurgler.
Yep. Then
Forget
you
it.
need TRT and all of that, because of course your muscle mass goes down too when your testosterone is low, and your body doesn't want to burn body fat when your testosterone is low. So it's a compounding problem when they could just take NAC. NAC brilliantly lowers cholesterol with no side effects. It's just an amino acid, and you can get it on Amazon. Just take that.
Yep. Okay. I generally work towards just getting people fitter and healthier, of course, but
absolutely.
I haven't heard of that. I haven't heard of that product, but yeah.
NAC is N-acetylcysteine. It's a powerful antioxidant.
Right.
Your body doesn't like to absorb it very well, so you got to take it, a lot of it. You're only going to absorb about 10% of what you take, but the good news is you don't actually need that much to make a big impact.
Right. Yep. Okay.
A gram of it a day is usually enough for a lot of people.
So certainly, and of course the other thing that a lot of people have got these days that we would like to think that a better lifestyle will help significantly is with mental health.
Oh, absolutely it will.
Yeah. And that is so prevalent these days, and in as much as people with poor mental health is depression, anxiety, and so on, without getting into the depths of bipolar and schizophrenia, is huge. And most people, of course, they just feel down, so they go to the doctor, and the doctor chucks them on more meds. So we're going back to that original conversation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of the symptoms of depression are also the symptoms of low testosterone. So why don't we just make sure that's okay first? But the medical standards for adequate testosterone levels in men and women, I think, are way too low in order to have good mental health. It's just that's in my experience in working with people. And so, I mean, I have a master's in counseling psychology, so it's not like I don't know anything about it. And I'd rather get their hormones balanced, make sure their body is healthy, make sure they're getting all the micronutrients they need, because sometimes you can genetically or epigenetically have a methylation issue with certain micronutrients like folate or B6 or copper or selenium, and you can end up presenting symptoms like ADHD, anxiety, and depression. The big three that most people suffer from. So we need to fix the micronutrient deficiency. And the only way I know to do that really effectively is through supplementation.
Okay.
Definitely have a healthy diet, but I don't think that that the quality of our food is high enough anymore to get the quality of micronutrients that we need. So supplements are a more direct route to get the dosage necessary to see results.
Yeah. Okay. What would your opinion be? I guess I should know the answer, but I'll ask anyway. What's your opinion on sugar for a start?
Well, the thing about sugar is sugar in and of itself isn't bad, except sugar has been taken from the cane. That's a very fibrous, substance, and it's been concentrated into these little tiny crystals that now hit the opioid, the dopamine centers of our brain, and start to control us because they are so concentrated. So if you took a sugar cane, this is what I tell my clients all the time. If you took because they say, oh my gosh, my sugar cravings. Take a sugar cane and eat it. Like just gnaw on the sugar cane, suck on that thing, right? It's not going to taste that sweet, not compared to what you're used to. What they did is they extracted all of that, concentrated it. So now it's like hyper. It's a much higher level of sugar that we're getting into our system, and that's why we're having problems. So natural sugars that are coming from fruits, from natural sources, it's really hard to get diabetes eating a whole foods diet that includes fruit. It's really easy to get it when you're eating manufactured foods like flours and cookies and sugar and things like that. But if you're eating it completely naturally, from rice to potatoes to peaches and watermelon, it's really hard to be unhealthy on whole foods. So,
and that brings me to the next question, which you've just answered, which is processed foods. Because let's face it, a lot of people who aren't necessarily in the fitness space, and for that matter, a lot of people who are in the fitness space do like to hoover down plenty of processed foods, because it comes back to the same comment: I don't have time.
Yep. I don't have time. I'm like, how?
Don't have time to
make food? To run to Costco and buy a chicken, right? That's already cooked for you. It costs $5 for 2 pounds of chicken, right? What are we talking about here? You don't have time to take care of your body so that you can perform?
Yeah. And with an air fryer these days, that's the new magic. I've got one downstairs, and
they're lovely, aren't they?
Oh, I mean, air fryers make anybody an expert in cooking meat.
Right? I mean, grills, same thing. It's a matter of priorities. I don't prioritize going to the doctor. I prioritize not going to the doctor, so I will go to the grocery store and buy the food and make it. And it's not always fancy. It's, as you saw right before we started recording, it was egg whites and some chicken thigh, all scrambled together with some salsa on top of it. Nothing super interesting, but your food isn't supposed to be entertaining 24/7. If you need your food to be entertainment, we have deeper psychological issues that we need to work on. Right? Yeah. Sense of purpose for your life. Why are we hoovering down all of those pre-digested foods that come in a package?
That's right. And there's certainly a lot of people out there with the likes of sugar addiction. And
it's real. Yeah.
It
is. And it's because it's concentrated like that, right?
Yeah. And in fact, ironically, I was chatting to somebody on a podcast a few weeks ago, and they mentioned binging as being an issue. And it was only afterwards I realized that's why there's whole aisles at the grocery store that I will not go down. I mean, I don't mind. I haven't. If I go down them, I'm tempted to buy them, especially if I'm in Aldi, for example, and there's the aisle with all the biscuits and the chocolate cakes and stuff in it. I don't go down that aisle. I just stay out of it.
That's a good idea. That's really good. Avoid the temptation, because the packaging is great.
It is.
And makes you want to buy it. It's
exactly.
Fantastic.
But I know that if I buy a block of chocolate or a packet of biscuits or a nice little, I'm showing the size here, but you can't see if it's a podcast, a 6-inch wide chocolate mud cake with all that chocolate icing on it. I come home, I've done my workout, I feel all whatever the word is, self-righteous.
There you go.
I'll sit there and think, well, I deserve a piece of my chocolate cake now, and I will have that piece of chocolate cake. And I would do the same with a little tub of ice cream. I'd eat one piece, and then I'd go back and I'd have another piece, and then I'd have another piece. And in the end, I will feel like vomiting, and I will eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
And with the ice cream, I would go back and back and back until that was gone. And then I'm likely to figure out how far I can get my tongue into that ice cream container to lick the ice cream container.
My dog does that with peanut butter.
Yeah.
There's a little river on the bottom. It couldn't reach. Yeah.
Ironically, if it's in front of me and it's there, I have to eat it. So the easiest way is to not buy it in the first place.
Yeah.
And
that's why I look at those whole sections of the grocery store and go, there's nothing over there for me. There's nothing over there my body needs. I'm going over here. And that's it.
Yeah,
just stay away.
That's right. But that's when I suddenly realized, talking to this other person, that I am a binger. I have a binging, let's face it, the word disorder comes out possibly too regularly these days. I have a binging situation, and the only way I can stop that is by not buying the stuff in the first place, which works fine by me because I'm very happy without it. But if it's dropped in front of me, it's a different story.
Yeah, that's there are non-purging types of bulimia where we binge. It's like we typically think of bulimia as binging the food and then going and vomiting it up, but there's non-vomiting types, and when you find yourself binging on a certain food, you're probably dealing with something like that. So you need to change your relationship with food and
Yeah.
what it actually means to you, and possibly your identity around it. Because I have clients tell me, oh, well, I'm the food taster. Like, that's my identity. I'm the food taster. If somebody's making a sauce in the kitchen, I'm dipping bread in it. Like, the food is my happy is what did one client tell me? He said, food is my love language.
Oh.
That's a pretty deep identity.
Yeah.
Right? If food is your love language, it's going to be pretty tough to break that identity, because just like other addictions in psychology, like gambling and drugs and alcohol, love and food are in there too. But those
Mhm.
are the hardest ones to break, because we can't just go cold turkey and live without love or food like we can gambling or alcohol or drugs. So you can't do a 12-step program for food. It does not work. There is Overeaters Anonymous, but I'm not so sure how awesome that works long term, except you just need to shift your identity. You have to change who you believe yourself to be,
Mm.
and in relationship to that kind of food. And it can absolutely be done. It just
Yeah,
takes some awareness and some intentionality of it.
that's right.
Good awareness on your part to notice that.
Yeah, and I can see where a lot of, and the reason I said all of that, of course, is because there's going to be a lot of people who think, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. Well, as I said, it's very simple to end it by not buying the stuff in the first place. And if you say, if you're thinking, oh, but I don't buy the groceries, my wife buys the groceries, then you've got to think of this as a team effort.
Yeah.
And, your wife and you need to go through and figure out, hey, as most of us in the zone know, most of the foods we eat are around the perimeter of the grocery store. You got your vegetables and your fruit, then you've got your meat, then you go further on, you got your dairy, round the
Mm-hmm.
corner past the red wine. I might be partial to one of those. I only drink a glass of red wine maybe
Yeah.
once a week these days.
Oh, okay.
Um, and then the frozen aisle, which there's nothing really appeals to me in that. Um,
Except the ice
and
cream.
yeah, again, that appeals to me, but well, it doesn't actually, because I've weaned myself off that one as well. So
That's good.
yeah,
That's
no,
really
I
good.
mean, this is all stuff that happened several years ago, and I just
Oh,
know
good.
that.
Good.
And in fact, I've had housemates living with me who have had ice cream in the freezer, and I just ignore it. In fact, um, it's interesting because I've got Ukrainian housemates, and they've who are escaping the Ukraine war, and
Oh,
yeah, and so one of them was 20 years old, and when she came here, Ukraine doesn't have a lot of processed rubbish food. They get here and they go into the local supermarket, and it's you can imagine somebody who's come from a country where processed foods are either not that existent or they're really expensive, and suddenly you've got
mm-hmm.
so much crap. You've got muffins and chocolates and biscuits and ice creams, and you just name it. And so they do tend to eat a lot of those. They just eat and eat and eat. So the household, the kitchen
Yeah.
ended up full of sugary, sweet, rubbish food, which
Yeah.
I found, to my surprise, I was quite good because I could just ignore all of it. It just wasn't mine. It didn't belong to me. I didn't buy it.
Oh,
It's
that's
not mine.
good. Then
But
you can just say that's not a on the table.
no,
It's not up for
and
grabs.
certainly the issue with those people was that within 6 to 12 months, each time the 20-year-old Ukrainian had put on several kilograms of weight.
Yep.
Their bodies just had spent all their lives without all that food, and all of a sudden they were dropped into the Western diet.
Yeah. Hyper palatable, hyper addictive.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's just one of those things you have to be very intentional about why you're staying away 95% of the time. And when you will allow yourself to have it, what you're doing that for, right? And you realize that it's only for this meal or only for this day. And then tomorrow I'm right back at it again. And then when you do that, your body's going to be totally fine. Your body can withstand some, and just not every day.
Yeah. No, I agree entirely. In fact, even in my book, I mentioned cheat days, and I do believe in them. And every now and again, I just feel like and these days a cheat day is different from what it used to be. These days, it's normally I'll be driving past what we call the fish and chip shop, and the smell, the aroma of fish and chips cooking and I'll be often coming home from the gym, and it might have been a few weeks, and it'll be like, stop the car, I'm getting fish and chips tonight. And I'll hoover them all down, and then that'll be me done for another few weeks. Just one meal.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. And it's actually good for your metabolism to do that.
Yeah. And I think it's good for people who are thinking, oh, I can never eat that food again. Well, that's not true.
Right. And that's a big problem. That's why they want to binge. I can never have this again. So now that I start my fitness journey, it's all over for me. This is not jail. It's not prison. This is freeing you from the prison that you're already in.
That's right.
Of course you can have that food again. You're just not going to want it as often. That's the difference. Instead of the food controlling you, you end up controlling the food. And that's really the relationship that everybody wants to be in with food. Nobody likes to feel out of control around something, around a substance, that they don't have control over their faculties and their behaviors. It's a very disempowering, very concerning type of feeling. And I can imagine why everybody would want to get away from that. They just don't think that they're ever going to have control again. And that's generally what I do in my coaching, is help people regain that type of empowerment and that control. So I don't put them on a diet. I don't tell them you're not going to eat whole food groups, right? You're no carbs or low fat or whatever. I need to retrain you how to feed yourself.
Yeah. No. And I can understand that sometimes that would be more difficult than other times, but as you say, people come to you because they want results.
Yeah. Well, and they're tired of anybody can get results very quickly. If you buckle down with anything, you can get your body to behave within 3 or 4 months. Absolutely. The question is, how hard do you have to buckle down in order to keep it? Because usually we're looking for that way out as fast as possible when we're buckling down that hard. But when you do it a little at a time, very gradually, how do you boil a frog? How did your health get out of control? It gradually got that way. Well, we can gradually bring you to a point of optimization so that you can build that lean body and maintain that forever, because we did it gradually. So gradually, you didn't even notice, just like the way it got out of control. Yeah. And then it's more pleasant. And then you enjoy the process. You're like, I can do this forever. Yes, you can. You can maintain this.
When you said boiling a frog, I got a very definite vision in my head from when I was only probably 5 years old. And in the town we lived in was close to some a geothermal area. And we used to go to the Awakeri hot springs, which had a big swimming pool, and I was there. It was at night time, so the lights were on. It was in the dark. The lights were on. I was with my parents and stuff, and a frog floated past me who had jumped into the boiling part of the area, because, again, this was all geothermic. This, it was heated, literally steam coming off. These were pools that were hot, the Awakeri hot springs, and here was a frog floated past me in its boiled state. So just something for we all remembered different things, and I hadn't remembered that for a wee while. Thanks for that, Alli.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, it goes to show you that it's not just our mental state that can't handle dramatic shock like that very well, but nothing in the physical universe handles a dramatic change in temperature, in behavior very well. Yeah. That's why we want to do everything slowly so that it sticks.
Yeah. Well said. Okay. Right. Is there anything else you'd like to add to today? It's been enjoyable It's been not conversing with you. It's been enjoyable chatting with you.
Same here. I think that the only thing that I would love people to take away from this is you're in control. You don't have to eliminate whole parts of your life in order to be healthy. There's probably gut health has a big impact on your mental health, your joints, your skin, right? The gut is the second brain because it's made out of the same embryonic tissue. So what you eat will affect your brain. So if you start looking at food like that and start thinking, okay, well, how is this package of food going to actually support my mood, my brain health, all of that? That might start being the right way to start making some changes and moving in the right direction, right? You don't want to be anxious or depressed or feel like you have ADHD and can't concentrate and have memory issues and brain fog. Large portion of that is going to start coming from the gut first before it comes from any place else. And what you eat has a direct impact on that. So they work together. Those are the two probably most critical things that I see that people mess up on, that they need to fix.
Yeah. Okay.
And they almost always approach it incorrectly when they go to try to fix it.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So even outside of exercise, that's critically important.
Okay. Well, I wish you all the best in your future.
Thank you.
I always struggle
You
with,
too.
and it's the same in real life. I always struggle with saying goodbye to people. No, I'm not going to get emotional. It's not that. I just find it really awkward.
So it's like, parties, see you soon.
Exactly. That's why at parties people will turn around. Where's Pete? I don't know. He's gone. I'd rather just go than have to spend 10 minutes saying goodbye to everybody.
Well, then we'll say, I'll see you later.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. It was nice talking to you, Alli.
Nice talking to you too. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Alli. That was a really enjoyable conversation. I must say I did enjoy the conversation. There were times when we spoke about things that I didn't fully agree with, but that's the joys of talking to other people. You get other opinions, and nobody's opinion is right or wrong, especially in this sphere that we're all working with, which is when it comes to food and how it affects people. Nobody really has an answer, a definitive answer of what is happening inside your body. We all guess where even the scientists, let's face it, they're trying to join the dots, and quite often they get it wrong. So there's no right or wrong answers, and the more information, the more opinions you have, the more directions that you can look at stuff from, the more chances you're going to have of coming out with the correct balance in the end. That's my opinion. Anyhow, so I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very much, Alli. If you want to get in touch with Alli, she is on X, and her X address is at Alli Covington, ALLICOVINGTON. I'll put that in the show notes, by the way. Now, this is a non-profit podcast. I don't make any money out of it. If you'd like to help me, and I would really like you to help me, I have a book that you could buy. It's on Amazon. It's called See Your Toes Again. It's about 200 pages long, and it's all about the ketogenic diet, all the ups and downs, pros and cons. If you are thinking about getting into a ketogenic diet, then this is what will help you see things that could go wrong before they go wrong, so that you end up getting into it properly without any problem. It's a great way to lose weight, and it's a great way to get healthier in your body and in your mind. Anyhow, See Your Toes Again on Amazon. It's less than £10, and I think that's a bit less than $11 US. If you can help out, that would be great. In the meantime, I hope to have you back for another show. I do try to put them out once a week, roughly. And I have some special guests coming up in the next few weeks, so I hope that you can join us for that. Thank you. Bye-bye.